Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to let everyone know that I'm out of hospital. I left hospital yesterday and I'm back at home now. So I just firstly want to say a huge thank you to everyone, my family, my friends and all my YouTube family for all the well wishes and prayers. They all worked. I was in and out of hospital within 2 days, which is pretty amazing considering what I've had done. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone and for all your support. I really, really appreciate it. So I just wanted to just quickly talk about like what happened and what they actually ended up doing and what actually results. For those people who are interested, if you're not interested, I understand. But yeah, for those people who are interested, this is what actually happened. So before surgery, sorry, my hand's a bit wobbly, I'll try to stabilize it. So before surgery, they weren't sure what they would have to do to remove this giant cyst that I had. I had a 27 centimeter fluid-filled cyst filling up my whole abdomen, ovarian cyst. And so they didn't know if they would be able to get it out through laparoscopy, which is where they just make little incisions and blow your stomach up and remove it, like drain the cyst and remove it through the little hole, through a little keyhole surgery, or whether they'd have to open me all the way up, like right down the middle, and that would have been major surgery. So they were hoping to do it laparoscopically, but they just didn't know if they were able to because of the size of the cyst. It was so big. So went in hospital, got put to sleep, and luckily when I woke up, they explained to me that they were able to drain the cyst, do it all laparoscopically, and the cyst contained 6.5 liters of fluid. It weighed, I think they said, around 6 kilos in weight. The fluid weighed around 6 kilos, and they had to remove my left ovary, and they had to, because I think it originated from my left ovary, the cyst, ovarian cyst. And they had to take my left fallopian tube out. Now, just before I went to sleep, I was asked by the doctor if, even if my right fallopian tube is okay, do I still want it to be removed, even though it's okay? And they said it would reduce my risk of ovarian cancer and stuff like that in the future. And I thought, well, I'm 47. So I'm not going to have any more children, so I don't need my fallopian tube. So they removed my second right fallopian tube. So I have no tubes left. I've got one ovary, my right ovary, and I still have my uterus. And they also did a scrape of my uterus to check for any ovarian cancer, like things in my lining and stuff like that. But it was all fine, apparently. So, yeah, that's what actually happened during my surgery. I was first put in ICU for 24 hours because I have sleep apnea. And they wanted to, after the anesthesia, they wanted to make sure that even, because I still got anesthesia in my system, that if I'm sleeping at night, that could, like, stop me from breathing even worse than what I do occasionally. So they needed a one-on-one nurse just to make sure my airways were okay, secure for the night. And then once that was all good and I slept 2 hours. I hardly had any sleep at all. I was on a bit of a high after the surgery, sort of. Even though I was groggy, I was still just sort of a bit too, like, what's happening, to really be able to relax and just sleep. So I only had 2 hours, and then luckily the doctors, the first thing in the morning after this major surgery, the doctor said, like, I want you to get out of bed. I want you to be sitting up, walking around. I was, like, really sore and really sore. But, you know, they need to do that for blood clots and stuff like that. So I understood. So I got out of bed and I was walking around, even though I was hunched over like a hunchback because my stomach was so sore. But I did the best I could, and I walked around a bit and that sort of thing. Stayed out of bed as long as I could, and then I just had a rest that afternoon in bed. I got moved to the ward at lunchtime the next day after the procedure, and then that night, luckily, I slept for about 8 hours, or 7-8 hours, which is amazing. The next morning, the doctors came around quite early, actually, about I think 9 a.m., And I'd said that if I was well enough, I'd like to go home because I was no longer on pain relief. When I was put to sleep, I was given is it called tramadol, something like that, for pain when I was actually got the procedure done. But after I woke up, all I was on was Panadol, and one day I had some ibuprofen. So I was on very minimal pain relief afterwards, and then yesterday I didn't even have any pain relief at all. I was on twice a day heparin injections in my leg to reduce my chance of blood clot, to thin my blood out. But for pain relief, very, very minimal, and I wasn't on anything yesterday. So when the doctors came around, I said that I'd like to go home if they thought it was safe for me, and they said, yes, we think it's okay. So I just had some at my wound sites. There's 4 incisions, 1 in my stomach and 3 around my stomach, sort of. Biggest ones on my upper left, just under my breast, because that's where they think that's where the cyst started, and that's where they sort of removed the cyst from, the major cyst from. The biggest part of the cyst once they deflated it. And it had like a bit of a bump and red on it, and there's red around my tummy. And so he put me on antibiotics. I'm on antibiotics, really heavy duty antibiotics, 4 times a day, 400 milligrams. So it's going to really nip any infections that I might potentially get in the bud, which is good. So I've just got to rest now at home and get better. And so, yeah, I just thought that those people who are interested in how all the ins and outs, how it went and what happened, that sort of thing. I did have Levi with me, and I didn't have him on the night I was in ICU because I was not really with it that well. My mum took him home and looked after him for the night. She brought him back to the hospital the next morning, and I had him out in ICU, as you saw in the first video. Then I got moved, and the nurses were amazed. They just could not believe that this was a doll. They just kept saying, it just looks so real, he just looks alive and that. And then I had him out in the ward when I first got there, and everyone just could not believe. I had all these nurses knocking on the door saying, I heard you have a baby in here. And they were all looking at him, and they just could not believe how realistic he was. They loved his little blemishes on his face, which is good. And I love that little yellow bit on his nose. It's not really yellow, but it's just yellow. It doesn't look yellow and like in the naked eye, but it does a little bit on here. But it just looks that little bit lighter. It just looks so realistic. They just couldn't believe how realistic he looked. And they said, can we touch him? Can we touch him? Like, they couldn't believe how amazing. They're like, where do you buy these from? And they just could not believe how realistic he was. But anyway. So I want to say thanks again to everyone. I really appreciate your thoughts and prayers, and I'm on the mend now. So thanks for watching. I hope if you're interested, I hope you're hearing about my little journey, and hopefully I'm on the end now. So thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.